here from BJC Health, and I'm looking forward to sharing another one of our online events with all of you. So it might not come as much surprise that getting a good night's sleep is really important. But the reason we did this online event to go into detail about the healing power of sleep is because of the overwhelming evidence there is now to support the idea that getting a good night's sleep not only is great for your overall health, but can be really important in helping you manage pain. So in BJC in Sydney, we have a number of clients who have chronic pain, who might be managing a rheumatic condition over a long period of time. And sleep can be something that certainly can be impacted by any one of those things. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation. It's part 1. If you'd like to listen to part 2, then please consider joining us on BJC Connect, where you can hear part 2 and a whole host of other recordings at any stage. But for now, enjoy the talk and hopefully see you in another event soon. Hello, everybody. Evening. Oh, big waves tonight. Very good. Hello. Hi. We're just letting everybody in. Yeah, thank you for those big waves. So evening, everybody. We're just letting everyone in. If it's your very first lifestyle event with us, you're very welcome. If it's your second or third or fourth, welcome back. It's always nice to see some familiar faces. We're really excited, I guess, about tonight's topic. And I should disclose this topic, although it seems really obvious now, was actually a suggestion from one of our clients. So, and when she suggested, I thought, oh yeah, of course, we should definitely do a talk about sleep, considering, I guess, how much it can impact our health. So as all of our live events, typically we ask everyone to remain on mute for most of the session. There will be plenty of time to ask questions, but we encourage you to use the chat, and I'll let you know when we're ready to take questions. But we're looking forward to a good event. And I guess the beauty of it being live is we really do hope we can get to everyone's questions before the end of the hour. I guess without further ado, I'm really excited to introduce my co-facilitator. So I'd like to introduce Ilana Ginges. She's a rheumatologist, and she has a passion, I guess, for sleep. She's developed a bit of a special interest in it. And I guess the both of us are really looking forward to discussing this tonight. So I'll keep letting some people in, but Ilana, over to you.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Sarah, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
That's never happened before.
That's exciting.
Well, how about I share mine, and
I have changed a little bit, but that's all right. I've changed it, but that's fine. We can be flexible.
Yeah,
I will be flexible. That's fine. You able to do? Are you getting it up?
2 seconds, and I'll go slideshow play from start. How's that?
All right. Now is that full screen on the because mine's on the background.
Get nice and big. Yep, you're good to go.
All right. So now I'm really pleased to be at this meeting, and I'm completely obsessed by sleep, also from a personal point of view as well, because there's nothing better than having a good night's sleep. And what I found over the years is that so many of my patients, particularly when they've got pain or they've got brain fog and fatigue, and we can dig down and improve their sleep, they feel so much better. So I'm really keen to start to discuss this, and we've called it the healing power of sleep because that's what sleep is. It's a time when our body heals. So yes, you have to do that. So sometimes, I know I used to think of sleep as a time when, the switch turns off and we sleep, and then the switch turns on and we wake up. But it's a very, very complex and active process. So it's our body's time to recover. The metabolism slows down, and also our brain slows down. And it's very complex. We go through multiple stages of sleep, so we'll talk about that in a minute. And it's important to remember, everybody knows about this circadian rhythm and diurnal changes. And when we think about jet lag, we know that that's when this all goes wrong. But we do have a spot right deep in our brain that actually dictates these rhythms, these natural 24-hour rhythms. And that can change. So it changes according to our exposure to light. It changes according to when we go to sleep at night. And often things will be going wrong with that clock. So that can be an issue. So this was a full disclosure, I actually had changed the slides. So these are the old slides. So I'll just, there's actually 4 stages of sleep. It just got cut off. So we go through naturally about 120 minutes of a cycle. And so it goes from, so REM stands for rapid eye movement. And there's 1, 2, 3 stages of non-rapid eye movement. That's at the beginning, and that's when everything starts to slow down. Our body temperature drops, brain produces different hormones. And the 3rd stage, which doesn't come up here, is that's our deep level of sleep. That's when we are sleeping at our deepest. But after that stage comes the REM sleep. And the REM sleep is when we dream. And it's a very, very important part of sleep. And with REM sleep, it's when you dream and your body is completely paralyzed. So if you've ever woken up during that period of sleep, you won't be able to move. So your eyes are moving, the body's paralyzed. Our brain is doing amazing things during that time. Our brain is very active, and we think that that's the time when we consolidate all our important memories, and it's like a vacuum cleaner for the brain, gets rid of all the stuff we don't need. REM sleep happens a lot more in the second half of the night. So that's why it's important. If you're not getting a good quality sleep throughout the night, you're going to have these periods where you're not having the REM sleep that's, for long enough. And then we get brain fog and we have poor memories and all of that sort of stuff. So just keep in mind these 4 stages as we move on. Why is it important? So some of it's obvious, but some of it's not so obvious. So we know it's important in terms of our physical health, our mental health, but also our immune function. So our immune system works better with with good sleeping. We know that people that regularly have not enough sleep, and that's considered about 7 hours. It's different for different people, but that's just a rough measure. But research has shown that people that are chronically not getting enough sleep might have more cardiovascular disease. It leads to weight gain, reduced memory, anxiety, depression, and of course, accidents, because if we're tired, we're going to have more accidents on the road, at work, etc. And we know, and probably most people here watching this know how important a good sleep is to help manage pain and fatigue.
Cool. I'm happy to talk to this one. And maybe a couple of my clients have seen this graph. It's one that I often bring out in consults when I'm talking about sleep, because another thing that people are often quite concerned about is hurting themselves or getting injuries or making old injuries worse. And although there's lots of things, I guess myself as an exercise physiologist and as allied health team members, we can do. We might look at someone's biomechanics. We might talk to them about their eating. We might look at their program and make sure they're not overloading their body. But this graph shows how amazing just adjusting your sleep can be when it comes to preventing your risk of injury. So this particular study was done on a young group. So they were young, they were quite athletic, but without changing any other variable, they found the most remarkable results in terms of keeping this particular sports team free of injury. So often we like to think of the easy things to fix. So people like, oh, if I saw my friend got some really cool tape, will that help? Or, will it help if I wear these really cool tights that I've seen? And some of that stuff might help, but I think sleep is one that is often not fully appreciated in terms of how powerful it can be. So hopefully that graph, it's not that 6 hours is dreadful, but in terms of then managing your injury risk, it can make a huge difference to then try and actively get that little bit more. So powerful stuff.
That's really interesting. I actually wasn't aware of that. So that's, thank you. So, we talk about good sleep, but what do we mean? So it's not just about how long you're sleeping. That was supposed to be changed. So duration and quality of sleep are both important. So different for different people, but at least 7 hours a night. Some people need 9 hours. Some people need a lot less. And there's this thing called sleep state misperception. And this is where we can't really estimate how much we sleep. It can be really hard. So a lot of people with insomnia will say, I only sleep 2 or 3 hours a night. But when they actually do sleep studies, they're sleeping for a lot longer than that. So it can be really hard to determine yourself about the quantity of sleep. Some people don't need much sleep. So if you're sleeping a lot less than that, and you are functioning well, and you're not sleepy, and you're healthy, that might be okay for you. Most people need more. There are a small subset that can do very well on less. And as we get older, we actually need less sleep. Sleep quality is actually very important. So what we want to aim for is longer periods of uninterrupted sleep. I talk to my patients about this a lot, that these awful studies that they do on healthy volunteers. One of them is either depriving people of sleep, like you're not allowed to go to sleep, or just continuously disrupting them. And they show that even in healthy young people have reduced energy levels, problems thinking, and pain after even quite short periods of sleep disruption. And as I said before, it's difficult to really know. So people with chronic fatigue, so CFS, I mean chronic fatigue syndrome, who wake unrefreshed, they've done studies to show that they do tend to have poor sleep patterns. So the sleep might be fragmented in little bits. They might have shorter bouts of sleeping, more difficulty falling back to sleep, and they might be completely unaware of it. So from their point of view, they've had 10 hours sleep. They wake feeling awful, but the quality has been bad. So you may sleep a lot, more than 8 hours, but you'll be sleep deprived if the quality is not good. Okay. We want to talk about, there's so much that can go into why we aren't sleeping well. And we thought we would throw it out to everyone here listening to hopefully on the chat function, write down any things that they personally, things that might give them poor sleep, or other things, in other people, or any factors that, people can think of. Now, I can't see the chat function.
It's all right. I'll do it.
So,
yeah, Ilana's first event. So I'll stop sharing just for a sec. Ooh. While people are hopefully keen to get into the chat, because otherwise we can go through a big long list. But again, we wanted to get a feel for what things you guys might know, like Ilana says, either through your own experience or maybe your partner's experience or your kids or whoever. What are some of the things that you think might impact sleep? And then anything that you guys missed, we'll clarify towards the end. But let's see. Okay, we've got some answers now. So Ilana, you can give them like a yes or a no.
Yes, I can actually see that now. I've worked it out.
Yay! Okay.
So absolutely mood disturbances. So Francis has written anxiety. Absolutely, like that's the thing we most think about. Anxiety, you're up, you're thinking, your mind's spinning, you're worried. And even people who don't have anxiety issues can have anxiety around the time of sleep. So very, very important. We have pain, really important, and we'll talk about that a bit more. Dry mouth, overheating are side effects from medication. Yes, absolutely. Stress again. Cats running around the house. This is actually really important, because one thing I was going to say is we've all got different households, and there are all different things that are going on, but we often have things that are happening in our house that are actually fixable or we can improve that are keeping us up at night. So the cats might be running around the house. For parents with young kids, we all know you're going to be woken up all through the night. We've got doing mentally active activities late at night. So yes, and we'll talk about how potentially to avoid that. Too hot, too cold, absolutely. So we're really aiming for a perfectly controlled, doesn't have to be perfectly controlled, but what I tell people is comfortably cool, not too hot, but not cold. Blue light, really important. So I was reading, someone was saying that, Steve Jobs invented the iPhone, and, the iPhone is one of these devices that throw off blue light, and blue light actually affects our melatonin. So, and it's the Apple phone that everybody goes to for apps to help them with sleeping. So, moving on, reflux, yes, joint pains, restless legs. Oh my gosh, husband snoring. We won't take a vote here, but I suspect if we were to kind of take a poll of everybody here and how many people have partner disturbance, really important. And, we have to have empathy to our partners, but also if we're waking up over and over and over and over again at night because of these disturbances, our sleep quality will be poor. Menopausal, yes. And I'm sure that a few people here have gone through that or are going through it, and the hot flushes and other things that happen around the time of menopause. Pain due to arthritis, absolutely. And active brain, yes, active brain. So kind of a lot of people have said that, it can be interpreted as anxiety, thoughts racing. There's a lot of stuff. It's a time when we're kind of lying there still thinking about all the things for the day. And Rosemary's written, usually wake about 4 a.m. and cannot get back to sleep no matter what I do. And hard to prevent waking up then. And I think a lot of people have been through that. That's a really difficult a time, and people start to get a bit of sleep anxiety and insomnia because you're then worried. It's already 4 a.m. I'm not going to sleep. What's going to happen? And I suspect a lot of people have had that experience as well. Sarah, have you got any to add?
Yeah, I'm just checking our list now. I think you guys did great. We've got most of them. One thing that didn't come up with that was actually at the top of our list, but maybe you've all been through it and forgotten it, but parenting, or if you've got young kids who wake up. So that definitely can be something which impacts people's both quality and quantity of sleep. We've talked about pain. Medications was another one. So some medications clients certainly feel can impact their sleep.
I suspect that a number of people and this may have been on prednisone, maybe for their arthritis, and could tell us a lot about how that made them feel, and it's almost an expected side effect of that drug.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think otherwise it was all the things that we've talked about. And I think maybe one last one before we get the slides back is work. And so both if you're a shift worker, so I think if your work schedule changes frequently and you're finding yourself working through the night, that can definitely then impact your sleep routine. But I think the other side of that, which might also be related to the thoughts racing, if you have quite a stressful work environment, or if you've got really big deadline coming up and, that's consuming a lot of your thinking, just long hours or, a really difficult work environment can then also impact your sleep. So there's a long list. So we don't frame it that way to be depressing, because I think we want to get to the stage of the talk where we start talking about things that we can do to improve it. But we'll keep going for now. And well done. Very good audience interaction. We'll keep, I'll start sharing again. Seconds, go from current slide. Yeah, so this picture was just that, it can be family dynamics, it can be stress, can be mental health, it can be medications, any of those things. And how do we know if we have issues with sleep? So I think, as Ilana sort of mentioned before, not everyone needs exactly the same amount when it comes to sleep, but if you're feeling really irritable, if you're not able to do all of the things that you want to do during the day because you just feel so tired, if you're picking up lots of coughs and colds and feeling yourself being quite unwell, if you're just waking up through the night and not able to get back to sleep, you'll probably know that, well, I'm having some issues with my sleep. Is there anything else, Ilana, that you normally sort of say to clients if they're like, well, how do I know if sleep's impacting my pain or my health?
I think that the idea that, everybody with, so Sarah, I'm sure you would say the same thing, that Most of my patients are fatigued in some way. Fatigue is just so common. And we have to, anyone who's got fatigue, brain fog, pain that's uncontrolled, all those people, we have to consider whether there could be a problem with their sleep.
I agree. Okay, and then we've just listed here just some other ways that if you're not sure, maybe you're on this talk tonight because you're not sure. You might identify as having poor sleep, or maybe you're like, oh, how do I know if my sleep's not as good as it could be? So one way to get a feel is obviously to measure. So it's no different to when I talk to people about their physical activity levels. One of the first questions we ask is, well, how much do you do? And exercise is a little bit easier to report than sleep because again, we're asleep. And although we might watch the clock, again, it can be something hard to have a good feel for if we just ask you subjectively. So monitoring can be helpful. I guess both Ilana and myself, though, do feel very strongly that you need to be careful with monitoring. There are a lot of apps out there now. You can measure all sorts of things that go on with your body. And although it can be really powerful and it can be really helpful to have that data, it can also be unhelpful. It's easy to get a little obsessive. It can then make you more anxious because through looking at the data, you're realizing you're not sleeping, and then that becomes stressful. So then that makes it even harder to get to sleep because you want your scores to be good. So I think you need to be, careful. I guess we definitely sort of suggest it can be helpful, but we try and limit the time frame. It might be helpful to do a sleep diary. We've written like a 1 to 2 week period where you'd report on, okay, well, when do you get into bed? What's the time? How are you feeling when you get into bed? Are you feeling stressed out? Are you feeling full? When do you fall asleep? Do you wake frequently? It's not the easiest thing. I often say to clients, doing a diary like this, if it's going to be useful, it's a real pain in the butt. But it can be very helpful because it can help you identify trends. It might make you aware of things that until you see like day by day by day, that you might not otherwise be aware of, and give you insight as to what might need to be improved. So a sleep diary can be really helpful, but again, just for a short period of time, and hopefully then you might have someone you can discuss that diary with, and that might give you some pointers as to those trends and patterns that you might then be able to make those steps to improve. There's devices that you can wear. So some of you might have Apple Watches and different things that will measure sleep for you, which is great. But again, we always want there to be some kind of interpretation of the data. So just measuring for the sake of measuring, I'm not such a fan of, but it's good every now and then to do a check, especially if you do feel, I have been feeling well in the past and my sleep was good, but now I've noticed a few changes, and it might be useful just to do that for a short period of time if your situation changes. So that can be a good strategy to just check in as to how your sleep's actually going. So I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our Healing Power of Sleep presentation. If you'd like to continue watching the presentation, then please join BJC Connect. You can set up an account for free where you can listen to part 2 of this recording and a whole host of other recordings that we hope are of benefit to you if you're hoping to learn a little bit more about your health and wellness. So if you like this video, then please consider giving us a like, subscribing to our channel, and look forward to seeing you soon.